This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. Thanks for joining the show. We have a really special guest on the phone with us, entrepreneur, owner of Slausa, Julie Busha. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you so much, Stacy and Bob. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Slausa. I am always intrigued by any entrepreneur who goes out and finds, like, if you've ever read the book about blue oceans and red oceans and going out and finding, like, something that nobody else has done, creating your own vertical in a market. And you've done that with Slausa, a unique slaw salsa hybrid condiment. Tell us what it is made of and how did you start this company?
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Stacy. I think it's really important, especially if you are one of those creators. So much in the grocery industry, innovation is key to having success. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of people who have barbecue sauces. They're a dime a dozen. They're often regional. It takes longer for a company like that, a barbecue sauce company, to gain market share, whereas buyers are really looking for innovation. And unfortunately, with Slausa, there's really not too much or not anything else on the market like it. So I want you to really take everything you know about a relish and forget about it. Because when I say the word relish, you think green, you think pickle-based. Slausa is none of that. We are predominantly a cabbage-based relish with addictive heat undertones, so kind of a slaw salsa hybrid. It's got carrots and bell pepper, onion, carrot, mustard vinegar, sugar, and spices in it as well, so it's all natural. But unlike pickle relishes, Slausa's healthier, more versatile, and the flavor is night and day.
So it is a condiment, though? Like you'd put it on burgers?
Yeah, I mean, it's great on hot dogs, brats, burgers, pulled pork. Rachel Ray featured us with pulled pork. She's featured us twice in her magazine. With Easter coming up, I use it as an ingredient in my deviled eggs.
Really?
So, I mean, it's just as good as an ingredient, or you can just use it as a dip for tortilla chips with half the sodium as a traditional jarred salsa. So it's just one of those great summertime grilling, tailgating condiments, and you're going to find yourself throwing it in egg, potato salad, all sorts of things.
So how did you find this to begin with? Is this something you've made in your household for a long time, or did you find it by accident?
I actually had a former partner who it was his deceased mother's family recipe. So it stems from a Southern recipe here in the South, although it's been very widely accepted all over the country, and I think it's just because it is so different, it is so full of flavor, and, I don't think people necessarily think that immediately this is a Southern condiment.
Right. Now, I know you've been highly successful. You're in over 8,000 stores. You're in some burger chains in Canada. How, as a 4-year-old company, were you able to go out and get noticed?
Well, I think, first of all, again, buyers embrace uniqueness. When a buyer is approached, and they are approached every single day by the same types of products, even though, my buyers are the condiment buyers, they see the same exact things over and over and over again. So it's really tough for them to take a leap of faith and to take something off the shelf and replace it for kind of an unknown.
Right.
When a product like Slausa comes along, and we do have a point of differentiation in terms of our health benefits, and I mean, we are still very affordable. It's always under $4 a jar. And the fact that it pops off the shelf with this branding and, the flavor, I think, and the versatility speaks volumes for the product. A buyer is going to be more likely to make a switch and take off maybe another facing of the same dill relish that he's got or that he or she has up there and try something new and different. And the fact that, it's working, that sales are growing, makes them say, hey, maybe we'll bring along another SKU and another SKU And we have 4 flavors now. Some retailers have 1 flavor, some have 4 already. So, I think the fact that from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm extremely aggressive in approaching these retailers. And my background is marketing. And I think one of the biggest issues that a lot of startup food companies have is that when they're approaching the buyer, they think that the flavor and maybe the image is going to sell it. And really, I try to focus my meeting with the buyer on what I'm going to be doing from a marketing perspective to sell it off the shelf, because really that's the goal. Getting on the shelf is relatively easy. It's getting off the shelf and maintaining that space that is a little bit trickier, and that's something that a lot of newbies don't understand, that they need to bring a marketing program that's going to sell it.
So does that come down to packaging?
Not just packaging. We'll do some syndicated radio. I'm very aggressive on the PR side, aggressive with bloggers, and just getting the word out about the product. Like we have a YouTube video, not my channel, a channel of another guy, and he posted our deviled egg recipe. In the last, I want to say 4 months, it's gotten over 100,000 views, and it's been his most popular video of the entire year because it was just good content. So, I'm very aggressive and scrappy on the marketing side because I don't have the deep pockets that major manufacturers have.
Right.
If I had $1 million, believe me, we'd be a lot bigger right now.
Right.
But that's not, I'm working off of our profits, and I'm extremely focused in the limited dollars that we do have of how they are spent. So each and every time I send my money out, it's coming back.
And can I ask where it's made?
Yes, we are made in North Carolina.
Oh, excellent. So you have like a factory that does it for you?
I have a co-packer. I think when you're starting out as a food product, you have several paths to take, and the co-packer isn't typically something that a small food company can go to immediately because they have certain requirements for minimums.
Right.
A lot of startup food companies have to start in commercial kitchens and build up to the co-packer. For me, it's not fiscally responsible to build out my own facility yet. My co-packer can produce about 90,000 units in an 8-hour shift. And for me to be able to afford that type of capital, it would take probably a couple $1 million of capital just to build out a facility that can do that. We're just too young of a business to do that right now. So the co-packer, and we've got a great relationship with our co-packer, that relationship works right now. Hopefully in the future we build out our own facility, but it's going to have to make fiscal sense to do so.
They're doing 90,000 units in an 8-hour
In an 8-hour shift, yes.
So are they running like 24/7 for you, or is it something you do?
No.
Okay.
I wish. We'd be a lot bigger of a company. We'll run production usually every month. But they also do private label for companies. They're a level 3 SQF certified facility, kosher certified.
Oh, wow.
It is a top-notch facility. They've got food scientists on staff at all times, and it's a wonderful relationship. They've never had, knock on wood, a recall in the 40 years that they've been in business.
Wow.
So, it is. I feel extremely confident that the quality is extraordinarily consistent and perfect, with each and every run.
Now, do you have plans to expand the product line?
Right now, so I have expanded into 4 flavors. We've got original, spicy, garlic, and the new habanero fire. I do have plans for a secondary line that I'm working on now, but that probably wouldn't launch until the spring. And I think it's really important to tell people that if they are launching products, you don't want to launch too much too fast. You can really spread yourself thin. And my goal is, as Slausa is growing, I'm going to be able to market my new product to those existing customers.
Right.
It is another really unique condiment idea, and we'll probably have 3 SKUs to start. But again, you don't want to do too much too fast because I think it can really hurt your initial efforts with your first brand if you overextend yourself.
Right.
Absolutely. This sounds like a perfect product for somebody on Shark Tank, but you've gone that route. You've tried that, right?
I have.
So tell us about appearing on Shark Tank.
It was a great experience.
Like, did you have to wait in line for hours and audition? How did you get on there?
So my audition process began in Atlanta in 2013. The first casting call of the year was, I want to say it was right around tax day. It was around mid-April. And I stood in the line, and I was number 180-something to pitch, and you have about a minute to pitch. And then they move you on to, multiple rounds of the casting process. And you don't really necessarily know how far you'll go. But at the time, my former partner had requested that I buy him out of his equity. And so the company was mine at that point, but I was trying to grow a company and buy him out and pay legal fees, at the same time. And it's been a big financial stress. I think had I not had that additional burden on me, we'd certainly be bigger now.
Right.
But, it's the cost of doing business, I guess. It wasn't something that I had anticipated. It just happened, and I had to make a decision. Do I continue to move forward and take on a lot more risk, or do we try to figure out, how to sell off his part of the company to someone else? It was just something that, thankfully, I was a very, very conservative saver over the last decade of our lives. My husband and I, we're just not the type of people who take vacations or live beyond our means, and we're just savers.
Right.
And had we not done those right things over the last decade, never could I have entertained it.
Right.
But it happened unexpectedly, and I had to make a decision to assume more risk, and I did. And so I thought it would be ideal to at least, throw my hat in the ring for the show. And somehow it worked out.
Wow.
40,000 people apply every year. So the odds are not in your favor. And I think they like me and like my story, like the fact that I had a really unique product. When I went in to pitch the Sharks, we were already in 4,000 stores. So we already had retailer confidence and numbers. The Sharks were extraordinarily nice to me. They were highly complimentary. Even as I was leaving the room, Mark Cuban continued with his praise of how I ran the business and our product.
Wow.
We didn't get an offer. It was the most bizarre experience of my life. And I don't know if it was the fact that I was the last person to pitch on a Sunday night. Maybe they were tired, or you don't know what
Interesting.
it was.
Yeah.
So they loved you, but you didn't get a taker for it.
Right.
That's kind of crazy. You don't really see
that.
that very often on that show.
I'm sorry?
You don't really see that very often. If they love it, usually it's followed by an offer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and it's funny because they've invested, I've seen, and now Barbara was not in the room, and she's the one who invests more in CPG products, and Mark usually won't go in unless he goes in with Barbara.
Right.
On the food side. So I think there was just probably, and I wasn't going to go for royalty in perpetuity. That was just not even on the table. So, or not, I think they sensed that was not
Right.
going to fly with me. But, I mean, it was a great experience. I answered every question they had. I really felt like maybe they should have asked more industry-specific questions, but they didn't. And,
Wow.
you just kind of walk out of the room with your jaw on the ground and baffled and thinking, what just happened here? I thought I'd get multiple offers. It was bizarre. But a great experience.
Yep. And 5 years down the road, like once you continue to build it, someday you'll probably look back on it and say, wow, thank God that they didn't put an offer on it. They'd own half my company. So.
Well, I think they sensed I wasn't going to give up half either.
Yeah, right.
But they've invested in several food companies that have already gone bankrupt and tanked out.
Yep.
But, they're not going to report that information. They're just, obviously going to report the success stories. So I think they're just very hit or miss on the grocery side because they're less understanding of the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really interesting.
So can you tell us we've got about 2 minutes left. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience working with within NASCAR?
To work for IMG International Management Group, and I've always worked and represented sponsors of the sport. So in 2007, I was very fortunate that one of the NASCAR drivers, Bobby Labonte, he was the 2000 Sprint Cup champion. He asked that I would help start his company, which I did. I was director of marketing for him until I left the sport at the end of 2010. But I was very, very fortunate, and I think this is one of the things that helped me in my business now, is that I worked with General Mills for 9.5 years. So, there's no better sport to cut your teeth in marketing than NASCAR during its heyday. And it's a sport that really redefined what all the other sports are doing now in terms of creative marketing. And I think that's always been a strength. And I'm really thankful for my time within the industry. I learned to juggle, doing 1,000 different things at once, because you're not just planning for the next race and the race after that, but you're planning for Daytona next year and other things down the road. So I think that's really helped from an entrepreneurial side of being organized and being, creative.
Yeah, standing out from the crowd, which you already do. Your product does, in and of itself, it stands out from the crowd.
It does. It does.
Well, I'm anxious to try it, and we want to thank you for being on the show, Julie. You were a great guest.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Hopefully y'all love it. You've got some jars, a little bit of flavor from the South, and fortunately you can get it up there at Stop and Shop.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We actually have a small party next Thursday with all of your loan officers. I think we're going to turn it into a Slausa party.
That's a great idea.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
All right, great. Thanks again, Julie. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.